How many doors did you get slammed in your face with like rude comments associated with it?
I don't think I ever had like a bad experience.
Really?
Well, yeah, we actually did have that a few times. Yeah, actually thinking back.
But you know what? Hey, I like that you kind of forgot about it. You mentally like checked it off. You're like, ah, whatever.
Those were like the best times, like starting the business, you know, like those are the times like I wish I thought about more.
Welcome back to the Regenard Report. Today we have Hannah Vogel, which is Vogel Roofing. Welcome to the podcast, Hannah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm excited too. You definitely are, outside of the norm in a sense that you are a part of an industry that is obviously very male dominated, and you're crushing it. You're doing some amazing things. You're giving back. You're building a great business in town. You have a great reputation. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that and dive into kind of your what led up to that. You're from here, moved away for a bit, and then went to school here. Is that right?
Yep. So I was born in Naples, and then my family, they've been here since like the 60s. My grandparents started businesses here. Same with my dad. But then when I was about 10 or 11, they decided to move us out west and just get, a little bit different scenery.
Yeah.
Than the Naples bubble, so to speak.
The Naples bubble is no joke for anyone that's not in Naples. It is a serious bubble down here.
Exactly. I mean, it's an amazing place. I love living here, and I appreciate it so much more now that I'm older. It's great for business.
And once you've seen the other side, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you've been outside the bubble, you're like, whoa, like I appreciate it a lot more too.
Exactly. So I'm very lucky. I feel like I got best of both.
Yeah. So did school kind of bring you back down here specifically, or did you want to be down here and then you just happen to go to school?
Honestly, I think the cold did it. The winter out in Montana, it's brutal. So I was like,
I was in North Dakota and it was cold, and Montana's probably just as bad or sometimes worse. Like
it's fun for like a few months, and then after like 4 or 5 months of skiing and stuff, you're like, all right, I can do some warm weather. So I was applying to schools, and I was like, you know what, I miss Naples. It's a great place. Could use a little sunshine. So I decided to come back for school.
Nice. And then what did you get education in?
Political science and pre-law.
Cool.
So I was convinced I was going to go to law school because like some of my family members did that. And life's crazy. Takes you in different directions.
And you decided not to, huh?
Exactly.
So what kind of pushed you away from law school?
Well, I did graduate like peak COVID time. So this is when like COVID was, kind of being introduced and everything, and it was locked down, and I was doing applications and things like that. And then I learned everything was going to be virtual. So I was like, I don't know if I want to be,
right,
doing school online, especially law school. I want to be like in the classroom. And even though I always wanted to be an attorney, I knew I wanted to start my own business, like my dad, my grandpa did. So that was a huge goal of mine. And I just don't think I was passionate enough about the law and everything to go that route. So
you got the, you got the entrepreneur bug from the parents then, the family.
Yeah.
What kind of businesses were they in?
So my grandpa, he came down here and he started title offices.
Okay.
And then Vogel Law Firm, which is like right down the road from us.
Cool.
And it was really interesting because he actually got a lot of women involved in the title industry. So like title companies, it used to be only attorneys doing title work, and him and some of his partners realized, we don't have to hire people with law degrees to do some of this work. So a lot of people who didn't have college educations or women who were entering the workforce, that was a huge opportunity for them to make more money. So
that's cool. That's awesome.
So that was really inspiring. So I think that's where my like knack for like trying to get women, involved in male-dominated fields.
You're definitely in an industry that is male-dominated, that's for sure. And we'll definitely talk about that more. And then you said your parents and your dad as well kind of started a business too?
Yeah, so he had a blueprinting company. It was Midwest Reprographics. So
Nice.
He did blueprints for like local companies, small commercial properties, Naples Airport.
So it's both those companies are still kind of real estate focused in a sense, right? So you probably were like, well, I guess I got to find a business that is something related to real estate, which is 90% of the businesses I feel like in Naples, right? They all somehow revolve around real estate.
Exactly. I mean, if you're not directly in it, I feel like your work.
You're an accessory to it.
Exactly. Somehow. You're always connected to it.
So what was that? How did you initially get into roofing?
So while all this was occurring, about me questioning law school, I deferred my applications and I was like, you know what? I just need to see if there's something else out there, that I'm interested in or before I take that leap. And a buddy of mine, his name's James, he was an engineer and he was talking about getting into roofing. So I think, one day we were just chatting about it and he's like, I really want to do it, but it's just, I'm more of like the construction engineer side. I don't know anything about marketing. I don't know how to start a business, things like that. And he's like, you seem good at marketing and, you're good with people. I don't really want to be super involved with clients and stuff. Like, would you be interested in helping me out? So originally I was just going to do marketing for him. So, and then, we started and a couple months in, he was like, why don't we just partner?
Right. Makes sense. So I think something that people need to realize, is that you guys found each other in a sense, but also too, you guys realized each other's strengths and weaknesses, right?
Absolutely. And that's why, we were such a great team because we literally we were opposite personalities. I like going out, talking to people, shaking hands, like
networking, building relationships.
Talking about the business. Like that's what I love. But he was just, very focused on the operations side, like the internal operations, making sure our projects were going smoothly and things like that.
Makes sense. But you need that, right? Like it's, I believe that's CFO and kind of CEO, right? Kind of financial and, big picture where the books are all going. And the CEO is like, I'm the visionary. I'm the relationship builder. I'm the, the other side of things. You kind of need the yin to the yang, right? 100%. A little bit there.
And I always tell people who are going into business with other people, I know it's fun working with friends and family. Well, maybe sometimes not as fun. But people almost want to partner with like people they get along with really well and like have similar, personalities and stuff, which is great. And sometimes it works out, but sometimes the people you don't think to partner with bring out, different skill sets you have. Right. So I always encourage people to always like give other people a chance. You know what I mean?
So you guys started this, you partnered up, right? And you started going out and shaking hands, right? You're obviously a female in such a male dominated industry. How was that first step? You didn't have any credibility at that point, right? So like, none. How was it? Like, were you getting shot down? Were people making jokes? Like, what was it like?
Oh, I got humbled very quickly.
Yeah.
In the beginning. Yeah. Because, construction's so cutthroat, just in general. And then when you're starting out, you're competing with people who have been doing this for, some people generations, years and years. And with roofing, especially like door knocking is a big way to, get clients and things like that. So we were just trying everything. It was like throwing darts at a board, seeing what would land, you know what I mean? So we would go door knocking, offer roof inspections, things like that. And people definitely were a little taken back, I think.
How many doors did you get slammed in your face with like rude comments associated with it?
I don't think I ever had like a bad experience necessarily.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it was like a dramatic like the door slammed in my face, but well, yeah, we actually did have that a few times. Actually thinking back.
But hey, I like that you kind of forgot about it. You mentally like checked it off. You're like, whatever.
But those times were just, I don't know. Those were like the best times, like starting the business, like those are the times like I wish I thought about more, like the times where the doors got slammed in my face and things didn't work out. But it was usually a lot of like, oh, like whose company is this? Like, is this your dad's? Is this your husband's company? Things like that.
So they just always kind of downplayed it.
Right, exactly. And they were just like,
you're just the face of it, right?
Exactly. And they're like, you're going to go up on my roof? Like you're going to go up there? They were just like shocked. I was like, yeah, I mean, we have a ladder, we have trucks, everything. Like, I can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it also helped too because James, my former partner, he was actually in the construction industry a little bit before. And so he had experience door knocking and he told me, like you need to make this like an advantageous situation. Don't be nervous, just women have a way of, I feel like, I don't know, making people more comfortable. Like, especially when you go up to someone's door, that's very kind of invasive.
Right.
You know, like that's their home. So,
Right. Like, what are you doing at my house?
Exactly. Yeah. So I tried to make that, you know,
yeah,
more comfortable for people, like, oh,
especially
like
if it
nice
was
girl, like,
yeah, especially if it's like let's say it's an older lady or like a single mom or someone that's at home, like they're intimidated when, you know, a male probably most roofers are probably, you know, lifting things, you know, pretty in a sense in good shape, big or whatever, working out. And then they're coming up to doors and then they're like, I'm not answering that door, right? Where when you approach, they're like, oh, well, what does she need? You know, I don't know, you know, so it's a lot more inviting.
Exactly. And, you know, it's very common, especially after storms, for like groups of roofers to go out and door knock and things like that. So sometimes it's like groups of like 2 or 3 guys showing up at your door, and that's just like a little...
That'd be so intimidating for most people. I know a lot of women that would never answer that door.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't blame them. And,
right.
You know, a lot of the times when I did knock on doors, these, you know, like little old ladies, like we have a lot of older people around here. So like they'd like...
yeah, way too many.
Yeah, like this is like the hot spot for that. But they would just invite me in and they'd be like, let's have, you know, coffee or tell me about this roofing business. And so I sat in a lot of living rooms.
Do you think it gave you an advantage?
Yes, more so when I got my roofing license and we got more work and experience under my belt. Because you kind of you have to like walk the walk and talk the talk. Like you can't just, you know, show up and be like, I have this roofing company and not know anything about roofing. Like you have to, I really had to buckle down and make sure I could prove to people I knew what I was talking about. And
do you think though, since you obviously, I don't know the percentage, but the percentage of women in roofing is probably extremely small compared to males. Do you think that gave you a pretty good edge in the sense, or do you think it actually hurt you?
Yeah. So if you want another percentage, it's 8.5% of women.
Really?
Yeah. So it's very low.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know. I would say it does give me an advantage now. In the beginning, I think it was more of a challenge.
Yeah. I want to bring something to the air here, and I want to ask you, why do roofers have such a bad name and rep?
Oh, that's a good question. So roofing is like the construction industry as a whole is very interesting, but roofing is kind of like the cousin no one likes, you know, at the dinner table. I feel like, you know, they get this really sleazy rep.
Yeah.
And especially in Florida, because there's so much corruption in our insurance industry, especially after storms, you know, like the past
storm chasers. Yeah.
Exactly. And then, you know, when people find out that there is a lot of money in roofing, I feel like you get some bad players that come in and they take advantage, you know, of the area we're in, the people that are here.
So it's some sour companies, sour people that are really bringing down the reputation of roofing.
Exactly. And I think it's a combination of the contractors and the insurance companies, because everyone's pointing fingers at each other. You know, they're the problem. They're the problem.
Gotcha. So you're trying to, yeah, it makes sense. But there is a lot, and I would love to hear your perspective on it. But there's a lot of non-rep, like non-Florida, non-rep, non-insured. I don't know the right words, but they're not legal, right? They can't actually do the roofs, but they come in with a low bid and then they do it. And then is it not insurable or is it not warranted? Like, how does that work? Because I know there's a lot of like, don't get fooled, don't get scammed. Like it's all over everywhere after a hurricane.
Yeah, so the big problem, especially after last year's storm, contractors were coming in out of state and they were either using other people's license numbers to pull permits, or they'd come and say, oh, we'll do your roof, you know, we won't collect your deductible. You know, assignment of benefits, that was a popular thing. You can't do those anymore. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
Kind of. I kind of know. I know enough to like understand it. Yeah, exactly. I know how to do it. Yeah.
But it's essentially, so you're assigning your insurance claim to another roofer to handle the claim, and he pays someone to fight the claim for you. And then they do the roof for what it's approved for. But really, the homeowner has no control over their claim at that point. So I feel like it's an easy way that people were taking advantage.
That's sad.
And it's sad because there were contractors that were honest, that were doing it, but you have the bad contractors that ruin it for everyone, so to speak. So
Makes sense.
I mean, for me, you know, personally, when AOBs were still around, we did them, and I know a lot of good roofing contractors that did them too, but I don't know. I just want homeowners to feel comfortable, and
Like
I'm
you
glad
can
they
do
did
it.
away with that.
You can do it, and you can still treat the homeowner correctly.
Exactly. You can have transparency with them.
Yeah.
Let them know what's going on.
So by you guys doing it wasn't like a bad thing. It's just now it's not allowed because it can be abused.
Oh, exactly. And for me, I'm glad, even though, you know, there were people like myself and other companies that were doing it the right way, it's not worth homeowners suffering, you know,
Right.
with the other contractors out there taking advantage of it. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it's a good thing that that's done away with.
So obviously we just talked about how you created this business.
Yep.
It was not easy, was it?
It was not easy.
Okay, let's talk about that. Like, how did you fail? Like, I mean, it doesn't just happen overnight. It's not like they just started believing in you. You had to earn the credit. You mentioned that. So what did you do to earn the credit and start actually building the business and getting work?
Well, I think the thing that really helped me grow is there's a lot of rejection in entrepreneurship. As you know, like, you know, in the beginning, you're just trying to get your name out there. And I feel like the odds are kind of stacked against you because, you know, not only do people question you when you say you're going to start a business, but especially like me as a woman in a field that I was not going to go into originally, you know, people thought I was kind of nuts for starting a roofing company. So it's like, you have to believe in yourself more than anyone else. And the first year, 2 years, when businesses start to go downhill, those are the hardest times because you're trying to gain traction, you know, you're using all your money to start this, you're broke. Like,
Right.
It's very stressful. But
How many years did it take till you really, in a sense, I mean, I know you profited here and there, but like you still had to then invest it back into the company a lot, right? So like at what year do you feel like, okay, like I'm having some like good returns in a sense and like it's actually like worth my while, you know what I mean?
I would say year 3 is when I finally felt like the ball was rolling.
Yeah, the momentum was there.
Exactly. Like year 1, I had the expectation, not in a pessimistic way, but I just knew it was going to be very difficult and there wasn't going to be money for a long time. So I already had that like realization.
How? From like coaching or your parents or grandpa? Like, cause like a lot of people think that they started and they're gonna make money right away.
Oh, exactly. And you know, that's like a big thing I try to advocate with people who are like younger wanting to start their own business is like, it's kind of designed to fail. It's not really set up for someone to like open a business and be wildly successful because I feel like in high school, it's very focused on, you know, here are the classes, go to college, you're going to have a job, which is totally fine. But, you know, for entrepreneurs, like it's not set up for them and all they see is the glamour side, you know, the cars, the houses, people making it. So I feel like people get very discouraged
You know, it's
once
so
they actually start it. You know what I mean? And then in that year 1 mark when stuff, or year 2, when things aren't, you know, rolling, and I feel like people get discouraged, and that's why when they quit, because they're
Right.
like, no one was supporting me in high school, you know what I mean? Telling me entrepreneurship was an option. And then when they do see a glimpse of entrepreneurship, it's all the, you know, glamour of it. So
And
I
they're
feel
like, I'm not there yet. What the
Exactly.
heck?
They're like, it's not working. This is a bad idea. You know what I mean?
And there's no roadmap.
There's no roadmap.
It's just trial and error.
It is. And usually there's a lot more errors, you know.
For sure. A lot of failures.
A lot of failures. But the idea is, you know, despite all those, the wins are worth it.
Right.
All those failures.
And when you fail, you learn, right? So that you don't fail again, right? So there's a lot of knowledge that you're going to obviously obtain through the failures. But the hardest part is, like you said, is you see the good so much. You see the Instagrams, you see the whatever, and it's highlight reels. It's just amazing stuff all the time. And you're like, whoa, like that's not me. And then, you know, I guess doubt sets in, all that kind of stuff that people think, and they talk themselves in a sense out of the business.
Exactly.
So if someone's at year 2 right now and they're listening to you, Hannah, and they're like, man, I feel like it's not for me, and I made some good sales, but it just costed me money. I feel like I'm spinning my wheels right now. Like, what's some advice you'd give to them?
Honestly, it sounds cheesy and everything, but just my biggest advice is like, just keep going. Like, keep fucking going. I know you can't, sorry for cursing, but that's how much, like, that's the first thing that comes to mind, because for me, like, I look back at the things I used to get really upset about or frustrated or discouraged, and I just kept going. And then, maybe the challenges became harder, but then after I got done with that batch of challenges, there'd be a new one. And you kind of like start to level up. Like, once you look back at the things, maybe in year 1 or year 2 you used to freak out about, and then you face them in year 4 and you're like, this is fine. This is...
So you're more like accustomed to the struggles.
Exactly. And you learn how to get through them. You just you have to plow straight through them. Honestly, that's my biggest advice, is just entrepreneurship is like getting smacked in the face every single day.
It's literally like that. And then it's being dragged through the mud multiple times. And it's like, are you going to get up and are you going to wash off and you're going to go shake some more hands and be told no some more times? You'll find a yes,
Exactly. And that's, to me, that's what makes businesses so successful. It's like, I know it's great to look at the wins and that's very important and everything. But, when entrepreneurs tell me about the times they were like knocked to the ground over and over again and they just keep, they keep getting up, that's extremely impressive to me. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it drives you to just keep performing. So...
It excites me when I hear the failures. I'm like, oh yes, so I'm not alone. One of the things is like when you're in a business, right? Let's say a car dealership, and there's 20 different salespeople, right? And let's say the market's not as crazy where everyone wants a car, and you're being told no. Well, you can go to you're seeing it around. You can go to your peers, you can go to your colleagues and be like, oh yeah, I got told no. And be like, oh, me too. And like, you get that sense of relief because you have that, someone to bounce that idea off or bounce that experience off, right? When you're in an entrepreneurship role, you don't have anyone else. You just have yourself.
Exactly.
So I would say this because, I've been blessed to be around a lot of successful people that in a sense are their own business owners, is surround yourself with those people because you're not alone, right? We all going through it. We continuously go through it. We all have good years, bad years. Even if you have a successful business, you're going to have some struggles each and every day. You know what I mean? So if you're going through that, find some people to confide in, right? Reach out to myself, Hannah, someone, right? And just keep going, right?
No, 100%. Exactly. Well, and that's another thing, I really want to pursue too once the business is now that it's more on cruise control, I can pursue other projects. But, I think mental health is like a huge thing that isn't really talked about in the, entrepreneurship world.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes it's very lonely.
Right.
And I think a lot of people go through that.
It's extremely lonely.
It's
I
extremely
agree
lonely.
with you.
Like sometimes it's just you and an office, a computer, and that's it. You miss a lot of big events, weddings, birthdays. It's very lonely. And then I think from the outside, people maybe see like you're doing well or, the businesses, and they just automatically think that, you're okay too. But sometimes things look different on the outside.
It always does. And one of the things too is like now I was on the opposite side where I was like, oh, it must be nice, right? Like that's a lot of like the working type people. And again, we're not bashing anyone that works out there. Like everyone finds the fit for them, right? But like I kind of like was like, oh, it must be nice, right? You have free time, you're buying this or whatever. And then when you're on the other side, you realize like the late hours, the late nights, the no's, the failures, like all that stuff. So then it's like now when I see someone, right, that's, been working really hard, they reward themselves, with a car or this or whatever, or watch and stuff. I'm like, yeah, because I know the amount of frustration and the heartaches and the rejections and, everything in between that they got to that. And they should reward themselves, right? Because they persevered through it and now they're able to reward themselves. So next time you see an entrepreneur, in a sense you think is bragging or showing off or whatever you want to say, realize that it took a lot for them to get to that point and a lot of no's and a lot of failures. So before you judge them, right, on it, just understand that, the grass is not always greener on the other side, right? And that there is a lot more behind the scenes than you can see. So.
Oh, 100%. And for some of those things that they do to reward themselves, I mean, for some people that probably took them 3-5 years to get to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
to do that for themselves, because you have to keep the engine going too. I mean, all your money goes to payroll, license, insurance. I mean, it's tremendously expensive sometimes. So whenever I see one of my entrepreneur friends, taking a trip, or maybe he bought his dream car or something like that, I'm just like, it's awesome.
Go.
You did
Yes.
it. So,
you talk about the mental health. It's like go on a vacation and wind down. I feel like vacations are so critical, now being in the entrepreneur role, because you never shut down. You never turn off.
right.
Like when I was working the quote unquote 9 to 5s, I was done at 5.
Right.
Like I'd go to the gym, I'd work on at the house, I'd do things. I was not looking at my email. Like I was done. Now it's the last thing I look at
It's actually
before I go to bed, and the first thing I see when I wake up. So it's like,
it's so funny you said that, because just the other day I was talking to one of my girlfriends I hadn't seen in a few months. She moved away and she was visiting, and we went to college together, and she was telling me, she's like, I just want to say I'm so proud of you. You're killing it right now with your business. I think it's awesome. But she was like, but I would never want to do what you do. And I was like, really? Because usually it's like kind of the opposite. And she's like, Hannah, I get to, go to work at 9, and then as soon as 5 o'clock hits, I shut my laptop. And if there's a problem at work, it's not my problem. It's my boss's problem, or you know what I mean? And there's something to that, because I feel like, again, a lot of entrepreneurs, like maybe it's because they do get really excited about what they do. And they're like, well, 9 to 5s, get away from your 9 to 5. And like, I do not shame people for having a 9 to 5.
not at all.
And their weekends, like
It's amazing.
It's amazing. And their quality of life, in some cases is probably significantly better. They have that structure in their lives. I mean, I saw a quote the other day. It was like, entrepreneurship is having the worst day of your life and the best day of your life all in the same day. And
all within the same hour. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I was like, that's so true. It is. And I'm like, what does that do to people's brains? Like that, up and down constantly can't be healthy. So
It's a roller coaster.
It totally is.
But you said it so great earlier when you said you in year 2 you're going to deal with the problems, and then year 4 you're going to deal with the problems, and you're going to be in a sense pretty much unfazed. And that's how you will eventually become as an entrepreneur. You'll understand that there is a bunch of highs and lows, and so you have to stay right here. So when those lows hit, you stay up here, and the highs, you don't get excited, right? Because how many times were you, oh my God, I'm gonna get this huge roof, right?
Yeah.
Huge sale. And then it doesn't happen, right?
Right.
Now you probably go and you're like, yeah, that sale is like 4 times bigger than that one. Yeah, if I get it, I get it. Be nice, be good, but who knows? We'll see until it's signed and the check's in the thing, right?
Oh, exactly. It's
So
so funny looking back at the things I used to freak out about, and now I just kind of laugh. Like
that's so true. It's so true. So, all right. So obviously you've been crushing it in the business. We were talking about roofing. This is all focused around the trades, right? Mm-hmm. Trades are huge, right? We need them. It's something that can't be automated. It can't be AI, right? And a lot of our generations kind of pushing into the digital realm, which is a lot of possibilities from a digital standpoint. It's amazing, right? What's your thoughts, and how do you feel that your industry, being a trade industry, is being affected by that?
I think it's being affected in a huge way, honestly, especially the past couple years, because we've had all this like booming technology and everything's going online and AI and everything like that. It is interesting because we always said like, you know, we can't use the AI for this or that. And now it's with everything. I mean, I even use it a little bit for my business, more on the website side.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how that'll equate to actually being out in the field, like getting roofs done. I don't think that'll happen. But
I mean, it can be generation, right? Or like it will
Right.
generate maybe better predictions, right? Which will cut down on your costs because you're not wasting material or your bids are more accurate or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, you guys still got to put in the numbers and run this and put the roof on, right?
Exactly. And I think, you know, another problem with like the trades being on a decline is there's still this like misconception about going into construction. I feel like people still think it's Chuck in the truck, you know, who like can't get a job or dropped out of school or something like that. And it's really not like that. And I'm trying to, you know, bring some awareness to like the fact that, you know, anyone can really be in the trades.
Well, obviously, you're the exception to that because you went to school, right? And you were about to go to law school and everything, right? So it's like you obviously have a lot of degrees and like you have a lot of education and you're in it, right? A lot of people do say like, oh, you know, they just couldn't go to school. They're not smart. Wow. First of all, prejudgment, right? And like, no, that's not, it's honestly, it's the opposite. Like,
Right, it is.
like it's so opposite.
And it's so funny hearing people talk about it because it's like, you know, I was talking to this group of people and someone was saying something about, she's like, oh, my husband, I think he might get into plumbing. I just don't know how I feel about it. Like, I don't know if he's going to make that much money. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, what are you talking? Like, plumbing is
Huge.
a tremendously profitable industry in the trades.
Right.
I know plumbers who just kill it.
Right.
You know, with profit margins, and it's a great business. So I people still think that like construction is just not lucrative at all. So I don't know if that's it, like if it's a combination of things or what.
I think it is. I think it's a combination. You know, the plumbers that are listening to us listening to right now are probably going, "Yeah, don't get into it. Don't get into it." Right. But no, I think I think probably they assume, oh, there's a lot of construction workers or whatever. But you got to remember too, it's not like there's so many different parts to the construction side. Like, when was the last time, if ever, you actually swung the hammer?
Never.
Right.
Never.
But,
I've been up on a bunch of roofs.
Right, you've been on roofs, but like it just goes to show like there's so many different parts into a construction. Like everyone assumes, oh, you're in construction, like you swing hammers.
Right.
What? No. Like there's so much that goes into it. And they're big businesses. There's full marketing divisions. There's HR. There's different things. There's the management. So there's a lot that goes into it. So you could be in the trades, but also be like complementing that trade too. You know, it doesn't mean, so if you're out there and you're like, I want to be in that industry, but I don't have the expertise of, whatever, X, Y, and Z, plumbing, whatever, there's still ways to be extremely successful in those trades by utilizing your strengths and someone else's strengths and partnering up.
100%. And it's interesting you say that about like the different, the different things you can apply in the trade. So like, especially with women, I know women who are great with communication, marketing, there's project management, social media. Like there's so many things that are so untapped in construction still right now.
Yeah.
How many like construction TikTok pages do you find that are popping off? Like that's not really tapped into yet. So I think women especially can really add, really valuable skills to the industry.
So speaking of that, you have done something pretty unique that I am now aware of. Let's talk about that. It's Women in Entrepreneurship, right? It's a nonprofit.
Yeah. So I haven't started it yet. It's kind of in the works, but it's going to be something where I think high school aged girls. I spend a lot of time in Immokalee. I think I've seen you do some stuff out there. That area has a really special place in my heart. It's
so crazy that it's so close to us.
It's crazy.
And so vastly different.
so different, and the amount of people who don't even realize how close it is to us is crazy. And I love that you and Clarissa go out there and do that stuff, by the way. I think that's awesome.
They need the help. So,
But
and anyone that's listening, if you're local and you want to get involved, reach out to myself or Hannah, and we'll talk more. But, I don't want to derail what you're about to say, but like, there's a lot of need that needs to happen in Immokalee area, which is only, 40-ish minutes away from Naples. They're struggling. So.
Right. Yeah. And so going back to your question, that's kind of what inspired me to start the nonprofit, because I feel like there's programs set up for kids in high school, for college, but like sometimes college isn't an option for them, and some of them don't want to go to college. You know what I mean? So if there's a way I can educate high school kids, maybe more impoverished areas, and educate them on starting a business, what tools you need, what resources. I would love to get funding available for kids who are, wanting to start their own business, but they're not going to college. So
this could be so cool. And the thing is like, I'll use myself as an example, right? So I'll look inside here for a second. I have now a successful business that I'm very happy with, but I struggled launching it. I went through all those things, right? And guess what? I used none of what my education was all about. So, but because maybe you'll say this, but mine was very focused. Mine was aviation, right? So I spent a lot of money to learn how to fly planes, and I'm not using that right now. Still fly, but anyways, I say that to say that like we are so sometimes not brainwashed, but very persuaded or pushed towards you have to go to school, you have to do this and this. You don't have to, okay? So, it could be you want to learn a trade, you want to do something, like reach out, talk to people in the trade, different things. Because like when you look at it from a number standpoint, right? If you spend X amount of money on a degree and then you try to start a business and you got to, take a loss for a while, that's 5, 6, 10 years before you might be where you're at. Where if you start right away, maybe it's 2 or 3 and you're already in a sense in a profit margin. So there's a lot of different ways to go about it. So I just encourage people to like look at the different options rather than being told that they have to go to a school.
Oh, 100%. And I think, and I'm not, against college or anything necessarily. I mean, like it's funny when you're like, I'm not using my degree right now, but maybe that you're using it without even realizing it. Are you out flying planes every day? No. But it still like made you know what I mean?
I couldn't agree with you more on that. Like people think the degree is what, so like, and the tangent I'm going to go on for a second here is that I learned so much through college, not that like being at college, after college, the mindset of studying for a college test. Like there's a lot that I learned that I wouldn't trade in a sense. I'm not saying you can't learn it outside of college either, right? So it's like I'm not pushing one way or another, to each his own, right? But I do want to say, and I agree with you, I learned a lot through college. So there's different ways to do it. But yeah, I've the grit, right?
Showing up,
all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Show up.
The connections, how to talk to people, how to like, work with other people. Like those are a lot of things that you find that you like or don't like really quick too, right?
Exactly. There's a lot of pros and cons.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, Hannah, I really appreciate you coming on here and telling your story. Obviously, when the nonprofit starts happening and you create it and whatever we can do to help, for sure. And I bet there's people that are listening that would want to participate as well. Keep doing what you're doing, staying strong, right? In an industry that obviously is male dominated, you're crushing it, you're doing some great things. So I appreciate coming on here and obviously sharing some amazing knowledge for the people and the listeners.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. So information will be below to reach out to Hannah if you have any questions. We are here at VentureX, Visions Media supporting the Reagan Howard Report, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Stay tuned.